I have created the ultimate piece of content for me personally as a DevRel. And I was thinking about this for a few years, like how can I combine all my passions and have the right tech at the right moment at the right place to do it? And I did, and it worked. I'm so excited. I created Alive and Kicking a Vue into Rock and Roll, which is essentially a guitar karaoke run completely in the browser. So I did this thing in front of 1,000 people at a conference all on my own, no band behind me, nothing else, just a laptop, a guitar and me, plug in, go. And the audience would live vote which songs I would play, and everything happened really organically and it was a lot of fun. And so in this video, I'll show you how I built it. Let's first start with the signal chain. So the signal chain, of course, starts with a guitar. And that has to go into the computer. So what we use for that is an audio interface that actually converts the analog to digital signal and over USB just sends it to the computer. And so from there, it goes into the laptop, which then has a general output of audio over like HDMI or whatever you want to use that then goes to the venue's output. And so this is the essential chain of where the guitar comes in. But if you just do it like this, it sounds really bad because it's just that dry signal from the guitar. So what you need to amplify it. Well, that's what we do with this. This is a tool by Neural DSP, and they've been working for a few years alongside a few other companies to actually make digital versions of old school amplifiers that are also analog that sound amazing. And a few years back this was possible but not affordable, and now it gets much better, and this was like 99 bucks. It's amazing. And so this also goes to the output of the computer. And then of course we have the browser, and so the browser itself playing the background tracks that I recorded because these songs were too long, so I made them all 2 minutes, recorded my own guitar backing tracks, and then put back the original vocals that we extracted with AI. So it feels like a real song, but actually it's me playing most of the stuff. And that also goes to the output. And then of course there's this one more thing, because from the refrain to the verse to perhaps the solo or the outro of the song, the guitar needs to change its sound. And so I'm using Webmidi API to talk from the browser to the amplifier to change the presets and the sounds, like more echo or more volume or more gain. And that could actually work through the browser using the MIDI API. And so MIDI is a very old API that actually normally existed between hardware devices, from digital drum pads to keyboards that would actually talk over MIDI to other like samplers and whatever, or syncing things together with this MIDI signal. And now that works in the browser. And I had to just virtually create a MIDI instrument in my laptop. And so we now virtually use MIDI between all these tools, and it works extremely well. Let's talk a little bit about how this works in code. So I just made a very, very simple database because this is for a conference talk. This is not live, right? This is not production code. So I have each song has like a JSON object essentially. And so this is AC/DC's Back in Black, and you can see it has presets. And so what this is doing essentially is there is a preset control that you can send over MIDI, and I want to go for preset 2, and the name should be Stadium Rock. That's just the preset I'm using in the amp. And Stadium Rock has to happen at second 0. And then when the video is playing, it's actually sending events, right? Because it's just, the audio. So every second, or I don't know how often, but it keeps pushing events. I'm here now. And I have made a listener that says, oh, I'm at second 65. Let me now send a program change, a PC event for MIDI to go to program 3 and call it Face Bleeding Solo. So that's the solo, right? And then we go back to Stadium Rock at second 106. And so this is literally just some chapters that I created in all these songs. And when we actually go to the MIDI client here, you can see it's getting the current time constantly from the audio player. And so essentially it just finds the preset for the time, and if it has set the preset, it doesn't touch it. But if there's a new preset that is higher than a certain value of where the time is, it just sends this PC event over the MIDI. And so there's literally, it's that easy. There's not that much to it. And so essentially it's just watching the time, find the preset and set the preset. And so the only thing you have to do to make MIDI work is use an amazing library called Webmidi.js, because the low-level API in the browser is hard. Think about WebGL. It's pretty hard to use, right? Webmidi just normalized it. So the only thing you have to do is just, okay, let's just wait for Webmidi to be enabled. Find my driver or find the MIDI interface I'm talking to. This is a virtual one that I built in macOS. Everybody can do that. And then sending presets is literally send a program change on channel 1. And there's many things you can do in MIDI that I'm not going to talk about now because there's so much. And so essentially when you look at that, so this is now my AC/DC here. And you can see the amp here on the right actually sets on the default preset and it has like a lovely color here. When I now refresh this browser, you'll see that it actually goes to 0 seconds. So it needs to actually send a MIDI event to the amp to say, this is what you need to do. So let's refresh. So I just refreshed, it goes to 0 seconds and you can see this now changed to a brown interface called Stadium Rock 2. And so you can actually check here, there's all these MIDI programs. And so for channel 1, preset 1, it's Boogie Woogie. And then basically the Stadium Rock is preset 2. The solo for this song is preset 3. So it's kind of mapped. It just listens to these signals from the browser. So when I go to play this, I muted this for the video. I'll go to move it forward. There we go. So it just changed to the red face here. So now it says here, face bleeding solo. And so it's just because it's that chapter in the song, it changes whatever the amp is doing. And if I go forward again, now it went back to just the rhythm playing. And that was essentially a really simple way for me to communicate between browser and amplifier, which means I don't have to think about it. It's all automated. So I just hit play, go in front of the stage, don't look at my amp, don't look at anything, and just play and have fun. All right, on to the next. I really wanted some interactivity in this talk because it would be the first talk of the day. It would wake people up with loud music, but I also wanted them to interact with, whatever is happening on stage, that they have a bit of influence on what's happening. And so what I built is somebody goes to aliveandkicking.vercel.app on their phone in the audience, and they log in with GitHub. And I want them to log in, so I have their little avatar image from GitHub that I can then use, right? And so the moment you log in, you get to vote on 5 songs. And you can only vote 3 times. You can also just unvote or downvote and vote on another one. And every time you vote, I show you your avatar bouncing around on the screen. Which means if people start to be very enthusiastically, voting and voting and voting, you'll still see themselves live on the screen in the huge venue of the conference, which is a lot of fun. So here on the left, I have my /live endpoint where I'm basically just counting the votes on the songs. And you can see I did a few votes already in a previous session somewhere. And on the right is essentially the interface that the end user will get to be able to vote. So you're not logged in yet, so let's just do that. So I'm going to GitHub. And I'm already logged in because I was already logged in GitHub. And this is using Supabase for logging in. And I cannot stress enough how easy it is to actually log in with Supabase. Check this out. Literally, I have a button that says login, which is this function, right? I just do sign in with OAuth, provider GitHub. Done. There's literally nothing else I have to do other than setting up my GitHub so people can log in with it. This is ridiculous. Supabase, you are awesome. All right, I have logged in and now see all the 5 songs here, right? And I just made it look good. So you have some lovely images behind when you scroll by. It's just good fun. And so when I hit vote, and let's vote on a few of them, you can actually see my avatar bouncing around on the screen now. And I actually have 3 votes only. So I can actually say, you know what, no more votes left. Let's remove this vote and add another vote. Let's remove a few more votes and then vote again. So you can see my avatar, going around. And what I do is if like 1,000 people at the same time do this, every 5 seconds, I'm removing the first little ball I've added here. Otherwise, things go mental. And this has to run at 60 frames per second while it's also visualizing the audio and also talking to the guitar amp, right? And so you could see every time I add a vote here, these numbers update as well. And all these votes are stored in Supabase as well. And so let's have a look at how I actually pull that off. And so, okay, login is done. So essentially, we have a vote view component, and all you need to know other than how it looks is song store, which is Piña, which works extremely well here, upvote the song ID or downvote the song ID. And you can see like how many times you have voted, what are the maximum amount of votes, all this updated reactively with Piña. And so in the songs store here, there's an upvote and a downvote. And there's a few more, but we don't need to go into that now. It's so easy again with Supabase. I just have the user from Supabase. I have the client from Supabase. And literally I'll just say, you know, if I'm voting, do I already have a vote from this user? If so, already voted, stop it. So if somebody's trying to hack my interface, they will not be able to vote. And other than that, I'm literally just saying, okay, I'm going to vote. Well, from votes, and then insert this. And I have a little TS ignore here. Please ignore that because this was coded really fast. And I didn't want to show you the errors. And that's it. And then after that, it just checks all the voted songs and then updates the interface with that. And that's all there is to it. It's a simple query. If you want to downvote, I'll just delete the row. That's it. So if you don't know how you have to write MySQL queries, you don't need to know. Just do it like this. And it's relatively simple. And so there's one last bit, which is like the moving balls, right? Let's have a look at that one. So let's go to live votes. This is live votes, and this is basically a huge canvas. And what I've done, I've actually created a real-time channel through the Supabase SDK with Nuxt.js. Every time a change happens on the votes table, it actually sends refresh votes into my use async data function. And so the refresh function is really easy, and it's added by Nuxt 3 that essentially just refreshes your thing. And this is mainly built for things like next page or paginated AJAX calls. And so every time there's a new update to a table row, I do refresh and it queries again. And this is how it gets this live thing going on, because it just knows when a row was changed, I query again, and then I basically just create the votes data prop that is, you know, reactive. And then you can do stuff with that. And so then, let's go down a little. I have created a canvas. And there's some gravity stuff going on. And essentially what I'm doing is I create a ball. And this ball has a whole bunch of properties. And it does request animation frames, so 60 frames per second, it's rendering these balls. So every new vote is a ball. And it just renders it again with a little bit of math to make it kind of look like you're on the moon. So it's not real gravity, but it's almost real. And then every time a new vote happens, so I'm watching the votes reactive property, I just, you know, add a new one with the image of the user, the avatar from Cloudinary upload. Because I wanted to make them a PNG, I wanted to round them and make them only 40 pixels wide. And there's not much to it. And it just pushes a new ball that then is added to my canvas that is doing the animations all the time. And then every 5 seconds, it just removes a ball, because otherwise it's too many balls. It's ridiculous. And so once we go to another page, we remove the real-time channel so it doesn't keep querying. And there you go. Once you're done, you go to the next song, the whole thing repeats. And so this is a short way to show you all the fun stuff that I've built. And it's open source. You can find it on my GitHub. I'll put the link in the description. And if you want more of this, if you want me to do this on your conference, feel free to reach out, because this is so much fun to do. Cheers, and I'll speak to you soon.